I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to finish the answer to yourself in your head. I'm going to give you part of the answer. Now take about 10 seconds to answer as many times as you can. The question is, who are you? And the sentence I want you to finish is, I am. So I am, I am, I am. Take about 10 seconds to answer as many answers as you can. There are many things that one would say, like I am Arian, I am 40 years old, I am a spiritual teacher, or I'm an accountant, I'm a software engineer, I'm a father, I'm a mother. And I'm sure you've described yourself in different ways as well. Every single thing that you have said is an identity. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. This is how we work. It's very, very normal and very human of you. But that raises the question, realistically, who am I? Really, to the core, who am I? You are the consciousness of your being. You are the conscious awareness of your human being, past the identity. Why is this really important? Well, the reason why we identify with the name that we're given is because when we are born, we look around and everyone is calling us by our name. So for me, I was Arian. Everyone was calling me Arian. And I looked around and I was, oh, okay, I'm Arian because everyone's calling me Arian. So I've taken that identity on. And we measure everything as well, which is very, very normal. So because I live on planet Earth, since the moment that I was born, the Earth has cycled the sun 40 times. Therefore, I identify as 40 years old. Now, if everyone called me by a different name, let's say Steve, I would look around and everyone would call me Steve. So I would identify as being called Steve. And if I was born on Mars at the exact same moment, up until this new moment, I would identify as a different age. I would be 21 years old, but I'd still be me, the conscious, aware me. Connection for a human being is the most important thing. We are relationally dependent species. We're social creatures and we're herd species. An infant on their own would 100% die every single time. We use connection, love, relationships as a survival mechanism. Connection is actually more important for our survival than food and water. And we know this if you've ever experienced a loss of someone that's very close to you or a breakup of a relationship, you don't really feel like eating. Now, we've had many experiences in our lives that fall under the definition of trauma. The best definition of trauma that I've heard personally is emotional distress without resolution for that distress. That is traumatizing for us. Trauma happens so much more than you would think. It's not only when you have an accident or a car crash or sexual abuse or a loved one passes away. Trauma happens so much more than you would think it does. Trauma happens when we're scolded as children, when we're jealous and we don't really understand that feeling, what's going on, and we're told to just get on with it. It happens when we're ignored, when we're told off for being angry and not understanding it, and our caregivers don't allow that anger to be there. In those circumstances, we experience rejection, a rejection of who I'm being in that moment. And that rejection is us losing that connection that we rely on and the way that we have evolved. And because we are feeling annihilation is actually the way that we reestablish that connection. In those moments, our consciousness fragments and we become multiple parts, multiple personalities. You've heard of multiple personality disorder, and that's when it's really, really out of control. But every single human has multiple personalities. You have become different parts of yourself, different personalities throughout the day, all day, every day. In the experiences we have that are traumatizing for us, we give meaning to the experience about the world and about ourselves. Those meanings are what become our beliefs. But it's really important to understand what a belief is. Now, everything we do with thought. Like me moving my body here, moving my hands here, speaking, is done through thought. I'm thinking it. If you've ever driven a car, you'll know that when you're driving a car, you are learning and you're getting in, you're conscious about your movement. You're conscious about what you're doing. You're consciously putting your hands at 10 and 2. You're consciously checking the mirrors. You're consciously putting your foot on the gas, changing the gear. And you do this over and over and over again. And again, remember, the movements are thoughts. And we repeat these movements and thoughts over and over again. And these thoughts are neural pathways. When I repeat that same movement, I'm repeating the same thought, I'm firing off the same neural pathway. And when I do it so many times over and over again, what happens is my body takes over and does it. And I can get in the car and drive and have a conversation comfortably, because now it is a habitual way of thinking. My thoughts that I had over and over again have now moved into my subconscious, and they're firing off without my conscious awareness. This is what a habit is. Any habit you have is from a habitual way of thinking. Now, we know thoughts activate the stress response in your body, and we've had many experiences in our lives that we have given the same meanings over and over again. Our meanings are thoughts. So when we're having that same neural pathway firing over and over again, we're strengthening it over and over again. And just like driving the car, when we strengthen a thought or a meaning, a thought over and over again, eventually it becomes a habitual way of thinking, a habit. In that moment, it moves into our subconscious and fires without our conscious awareness over and over again. This is what a belief is. A belief is a thought that you think over and over again. Your unconscious beliefs, your core limiting beliefs, are thoughts that activate the stress response in your body. Now, if my conscious aware thoughts aligns with an unconscious belief, I actually start feeling the stress and the overwhelm of that belief from my subconscious. The root of my pain is actually coming from my unconscious beliefs. Your unconscious beliefs become your identity. So any belief like, I can't do it, I'm not good enough, I'm unhealthy, I'm unworthy, I'm an anxious person, it's too hard to do it and I can't do it, I'm powerless to change my reality. You can't change your identity unless you're aware that you can. I know that sounds silly and obvious, but that's the truth. You cannot change your identity unless you do the deep inner work. Otherwise, you're stuck in the stress and the pain of your unconscious beliefs, and they don't disappear on their own. I know a lot of people are like, oh, all you need is time, but time only gets you really good at not becoming aware of this belief, the thing that's causing you pain. What's happening is our unconscious beliefs are creating the background stress that we now become familiar with. Throughout our childhood, we have given all of these meanings or beliefs, and we've just acclimated and we've become used to how this feels. So it's become familiar to us. It feels normal to us. And when untreated, this is what creates heaviness, depression, emotional overwhelm. This is what creates trapped energy in the body, which is the main cause of disease. Your overall state becomes a very low vibrational state. And we do our best. The pain we feel is continuously there. And unless we know what's going on, we don't really know what the best solution is. We don't really know what we can do. That pain is there trying to continuously get your attention. So because we don't know what we do the best that we can, which is keep ourselves busy. So we overwork, we're constantly on the move, we overdo the gym, we numb ourselves by drinking alcohol or smoking weed or binge eating food. We'll try and have as much sex as we can. We'll doom scroll. We'll binge watch TV as well. We're constantly trying to distract ourselves because we don't have the tools that we need to be able to deal with this stuff. And these are all how we cope with the unconscious pain that we don't know is even there and we can't really see, but we can kind of feel. And our coping mechanisms become what we become reliant on. And that is what addiction is. Addiction is our way of escaping the unconscious pain that we have no idea what it is and where it comes from. Now, unfortunately, some addictions are seen as good and some are seen as bad. For example, if you're addicted to work, you're seen as someone who's very committed. If you're addicted to the gym, again, you're seen as someone who's very committed and disciplined. But if you're addicted to alcohol or weed or food or sex, it's not really seen as something that's good. It's seen as something that's bad. Now, if I was to fall out of a tree and break my legs, I would be in so much pain. And the paramedic would come, and to relieve that pain, they would give me morphine. That would be my way of coping with my pain. Now, once the morphine wears off, in that moment, I'd be like, oh, give me some more morphine because I feel the pain. I would then be reliant on the thing that's taking me away from the pain, which is the morphine. That would be the way that I would cope with the pain. And if I just stop the morphine, that's not going to take me away from the pain. The cause of my pain is still there. And this is why a lot of people leave one addiction and go to another. So you might stop drinking alcohol, but then you'll go to smoking weed, because the stress is still there. The thing that is causing you to cope is still there. Whether you stop that substance or not, the cycle of pain is still there. And you might be asking, well, what do I do? My most famous quote is, how you feel is correct 100% of the time, because it's a communication from you to you about you. Your being, your human being, your entire being is constantly trying to communicate to you all the time. We have a feeling system. Your feeling system is how your being gets the attention of you, the conscious awareness. So if I'm feeling a surface, let's say my top here, it feels completely different to this microphone surface here. There's different feelings, different data, different feedback. If I put my hand on a hot stove, I'm going to pull it away because that's feedback. It's communication that is actually going to damage us. Don't touch that. So it's feedback, it's data. Now we can feel physically and we can feel emotionally. If I feel anger in this moment, my being is communicating to me that something is happening to me that I am not okay with. My emotions is a guidance system. So another way that this system guides me is by showing me parts of myself that is still holding on to that emotion of anger that needs my attention. This is what a trigger is. So when I am triggered to feel anger, it's my being's way of going, hey, this part of you needs your attention. And by giving it attention, I can resolve the unresolved emotional distress from the previous past experiences that I've had, which is my trauma. And by doing so, I can integrate these parts of myself. Whilst I'm integrating these parts of myself, I'm resolving the meanings, the beliefs, the old story. And at the same time, I can start telling myself new stories, new beliefs, give new meaning about myself. The more you do this, you reduce the stress response from your beliefs, from the habitual thoughts of your core beliefs. And the more you reduce that stress, you're not living a life of long-term stress in the body. Depression manifests because we're stuck in the suffering of the unconscious thoughts we have and feel completely powerless to change. The way you discover your true self is by becoming aware of the unconscious beliefs that you carry, which is actually the root cause of the pain and the stress in your body, which is why we use the things that we numb ourselves with are essentially coping with. The more you become self-aware, the more you are changing your identity. And self-awareness is what allows you to choose your own identity, or better yet, become aware of who you truly are. Not by shouting affirmations in the mirror or writing it down and putting it under your pillow. It requires the deep work. It's how you increase your confidence. It's how you can actually handle extremely challenging emotion. It's how you increase your emotional intelligence and how you get to a place where you stop abandoning yourself. Now, before I did all of this, I was told that I had CPTSD and an anxiety disorder, and that became my identity. When it became my identity, I didn't look further to try and resolve it because I was like, oh, that's who I am. I'm someone who struggles with this, so I'm just gonna need to learn how to cope with it. But by learning how to cope doesn't get to resolution of the stress. So then I'm adapting to living in this stress my entire life. And long-term stress causes disease. But now from learning all of this stuff and how to do it, I realized that I was creating an identity that was keeping me stuck because of the lack of awareness of my therapist and pretty much most of the people that I was talking to. And now I'm at a place where I've completely healed my CPTSD and my anxiety disorder, and I'm progressing more and more. I've been able to tell new stories about myself and choose my own identity. I've done this for myself, and I've been helping thousands of people do this from all over the world. Now, I want to leave you with this. We live in a time where it's not common knowledge, everything that I'm talking about. I actually define this time as the emotional dark ages, and the mainstream media outlets have still not caught up to this yet. The unconscious beliefs that we carry are creating the long-term stress that we've become familiar with, which is the biggest cause of the unhealthy lifestyle and disease we face as a society today. And I want you to leave this place asking yourself the question, well, what identity have I taken on? Whose story am I living by? And I want you to truly ask yourself, who am I? Truly, who am I? Thank you for listening. I'm Arian Samui.